Hello, this is an assessment of a John Broadwood upright piano made in 1937. It's 107 centimetres tall. The client's moving to Oxford, so we've got the piano to assess to see if there's any work that might improve it before it goes to their house. And the casework is in reasonable condition. It's been kept well. There's just the odd bit of veneer, there's a bit of veneer missing down there. We could try and make that good, and just a few scratches here and there, but generally in good condition. It's faded obviously over the years. You can see under here what the original colour was. You could keep that up and then it would fade in evenly, but that's naturally like this. As you can see, the design of the Broadwood is such that it's kind of folded back like they do on a lot of their grand pianos as well. The key tops are not ivory keys, but they're a nice slightly grained plastic, so to look a bit more like ivory, and all in extremely good condition, so that's good news. We could polish this up to obviously make it stand out a bit more, but the piano is extremely well designed. Broadwood is a very respected manufacturer. I think one of the oldest, if not the oldest English manufacturer, 1728 I believe that they were founded, so it goes back a huge, and there's lots of different styles of Broadwood. There are not so many of this age. They're more in the UK, more older Broadwood pianos of the traditional style. So this 30s one is a bit of a departure from that, but well designed and well thought out generally. This holds up, by the way, and you can see it holds up there for tuning, so rather than folding right back, you hold it up like that, and there's the John Broadwood, established 1728. One useful feature on this design is the music stand that goes the whole length of the piano. As you get on some a few modern pianos, Fatser is one make that we often supply. We like to get them. We like the long music there. That's a Finnish piano. So Broadwood's obviously this is a totally redesigned Broadwood piano, and well thought out. The client did wonder whether it had some moth infestation, but in fact I didn't find any moth infestation, because apparently the carpet in the room did have. That's unusual, because it's very common for pianos to get moth infestation, and you look under the keys particularly, and that's where you tend to see it. There's a lot of dust down there, but there's no moth infestation at all. The keys are slightly stiff, as they should fall back down when you lift them up like this, but so we would lubricate this centre rail as a matter of course on all our pianos actually, because they tend to get a little bit tight, as you can see if we lift these sharps up too, and so they should fall back down, and that does affect the touch. And the piano is extremely flat. That's about 433.5. It should be 440. We usually raise it up to 441 because they tend to fall down a little bit in somebody's house. So also you can see that there's some slack here. That slack needs to be taken up. So if we take the key out, we can just adjust the capstan here. This one you'd have to take out. It's got a screw fitting on top. That's unusual. That might damage the felt a little bit, so normally they're brass, and that would have to be screwed up, so it's not the common way of fitting those, but if you turn that probably about half a turn, that'll take up the slack in the key, and that'll make it perform better. They tend not to perform so well if they're like that. So I've turned this about a bit less than half a turn actually, and now it's taken up all the slack. So now the whippen and the hammer move exactly the same time. If we look at the G sharp next to it, you see there's some slack there, so that makes it more sensitive to play if you take up the slack, and it's important. If you do that adjustment, then it's important to just double check that by pressing at the back of the key that the hammer's not taken too far up, otherwise when you press here you'll find the hammer's moving, and that might mean the jack doesn't go under properly. If you make that adjustment, the other thing you've got to check is that the hammer rail isn't actually lifted off slightly like this. There's a half blow mechanism on the left hand pedal here, that's not pushing it up, or something else keeping it slightly up, because if there is, then let's go back to that A there that we've regulated. So with my foot not on the pedal, it's lifting at the same time. With my foot on the pedal, this is a left hand pedal, you can see it's slack, so you've got to be careful that it's not that's causing the slack, so getting that back in place first and then taking out the slack afterwards. The piano's got a fine tone, slightly on the mellow side, and I think the hammers are a little bit soft, so in order to make them less mellow we'd have to replace them, and I don't think that's really the thing to do on this piano. It does sound really excellent, so it's just a mellow piano. You can reface them, which I tried with this one. It does make it a little bit clearer in tone, and if you dope them, which some people do, and we don't tend to do that, we don't tend to destroy the hammer, I think, if you dope them too much. But you can dope them, and then that may make the tone stronger. If you're in the trade and like to give an opinion on that, that'd be really useful. But they are a bit on the soft side, and I don't really think we can do too much to improve the tone of them. We can even this up, so that was a bit brighter. So trying to even them up on the bright side would be the answer. Around here, the breakpoint, that's a bit harsh, the tone of those two, can't do too much about that. But the bass is generally good. These two dampers here, they seem to be making a bit of a noise on the way back. And they're obviously wedge dampers to try to be more effective, because the tone of these two, if you listen to it, not damping off 100%. That one's better. You can hear some high harmonics. You often get fly dampers here to try and cancel out those high harmonics. They're very short dampers. That's the problem we've got here. But I think we can improve them slightly. And round here, you can hear high harmonics, and that's one of the two strings causing that. So the left string is damping well, and the right string isn't. So what you can do, and it does work very often, is to just make the damper go in more on the left hand side. In other words, go further in on the left, and then it will be even. So if you can actually do this sometimes without taking the damper out. So if I run my finger along the side of the damper to get right down to the bottom, there's two dampers on this one, so get down to the bottom one and then put it back in, and we may have caught there we are, it's much better. If you take it out, it's easier to squash the left hand side so that it goes in further, and then the damper will hit both strings at the same time. So the piano's really below pitch. That's going to alter the tone as we pitch raise it as well. And then in his regulating, I think the capstan regulation is really important. Voicing the hammers, hopefully we can improve them and even them up a bit more too. The piano's slightly uneven on its casters. That's something we want to look at as well. The sharps are a bit dirty, so these are cosmetic things obviously, and the sides of the sharps, if you look, the tops of the sharps are a little bit dirty, and also the sides of them, you can see that if we pull it up, that happens with a lot of playing, and obviously the piano's been well used and loved, and they can be blackened in if you like. Obviously they're all cosmetic, but you can actually feel some roughness on the top here, so that would be useful to clean those. The other thing, last of all, I wanted to mention, as we mention always, is the key weighting. So 50 grams for that note is fine, but then as we go up we find it's 37, 34. That's very, very low weighting. If you're going to learn the piano and practicing the piano, if you're going to use it for study, then 34 really is a bit low, because when you go on to say a concert grand piano to do your exams, and that you find a huge difference. If you're not studying and just want to use the piano for enjoyment, then you may be quite happy with a low down weight. Of course, early keyboards had a low down weight, and keyboards do sometimes, but modern pianos tend to be at 50 grams here. Digital pianos about the same too, and really 34 is very, very low if you want to practice. So that's something that's important to point out, I think, if you're learning the piano. So that's a John Broadwood upright piano made in 1936, 107 centimetres tall. And it's not the style of Broadwood you normally see in the UK. There are some like this, but generally they're traditional style pianos. The foam goes back a long way, and a lot of them restore extremely well. For instance, the green frame Broadwood, if you're in the trade, you might like to make a comment on that, is one that restores well generally, and we have bought and restored and sold some of those. Broadwood pianos are common in the UK because the firm was very respected and very well known, and varying designs, but this design is not one you come across very often. I have seen one or two like this before. This folds in like this, which is the grand pianos fold up that way, so that's obviously there thinking of that design, I'm sure. But this allows you to have extremely long music desks, which I think is a wonderful idea. Nowadays, a lot of people put sheet music across the whole piano, which is really useful. So it has a lot of positive things to say about it. It needs pitch raising and needs voicing, and sounds very mellow and beautiful. If you wanted a bright sounding piano, then I think this will not do that unless you replace the hammers with harder ones. I hope that's helpful. If you've got a piano and you want a piano assessed, maybe you're moving from A to B, moving into Oxford as this client is here, then please do let us know and we'll see if we can help. Please write to info@robertspianos.com. Thank you very much for listening.